Hello, and we are Geeks Assembled, and this little group of folks here have gathered today to talk about a movie from 1997. Some people know this movie and say it's a sort of a cult. Now it's a sort of a cult status movie. Some people may never have heard of this movie. It's a sci-fi slash horror thriller, whatever you want to call it. It's Event Horizon, starring Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Jolie Richardson, and many other actors in it. So we'll go around our little group here. We'll get our opening thoughts on this movie. We'll go to Stephen Price first. What's your opening thoughts on Event Horizon, Stephen?
Excellent movie. I hadn't seen it for a very long time. Seen it about. This is about my fifth time I've seen the movie. I was blown away with it the first time I seen it. Sam Neill plays like a devil, which is his like second appearance of the devil, because he's played the devil in Omen: The Final Conflict. I like the effects of the spaceship and the blood and gore in the movie. Thank you.
It was short and sweet. You caught me off guard there. Let's go to. We'll go to Susan and Alex.
I kind of knew you were going to do that. Yeah. Event Horizon was a spaceship that was floating around derelict, and these guys came on board with their little spaceship, and they entered this great big spaceship, and the spaceship turned out to be haunted. It had a gravity drive, which a gravity drive is a spherical thing with like little bumps on it. A metallic ball surrounded by rings that spin, and then as it lines up, it opens up a gateway to another universe. And apparently it went to hell and back, and brought back a bunch of spiritual, supernatural junk with it, and the whole crew that entered into the spaceship ended up being messed with mentally and physiologically, and ended up dead, killed, or at the end just bonkers. And let's see, they tried to protect each other from it, but it was just a mess. And Lawrence Fishburne was brilliant. He was Morpheus, and now in this one he was a lot more rough and tumble, and not as anyway, he played a totally different character than Morpheus, but like you'd always just remember him as that. Anyway, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it. Scared the crap out of me, but the more you watch it, the less it's like super cool. But anyway, that's my opinion. Here's Alex.
Great cast, great special effects. Don't like the story, don't like the gore. It's a shame. But I just think they went overboard, and quite frankly, if I had known, I probably wouldn't have watched it. It's just too graphic. I understand I've seen a lot of movies, and a lot of gross movies, or bad or mediocre movies, but this should have been done a little better, and it should have had a better story, and not so much gross and gore and nasty stuff. A little bit, yes, I understand that, but I think they overdid it. I mean, it almost made me want to watch Aliens and other movies because it's a little bit more restrained.
Thanks for that, Alex. I don't know what film you watched, but I didn't see a lot of gore in this, to be honest. It wasn't enough for me. Let's go to Beef Dad.
First time I've seen it. Concept was good. The cast was good. The execution of the concept I found very disappointing. It could have been an awful lot better. In fact, if they got one of the script writers from Star Trek to do it, it would have been a hell of a lot better. It concentrated too much on, for me, on the gore and unpleasantness, and not enough on the science of it. I would have liked a bit more of the science of it. You talk about the drive, but the thing is, basically what that round thing is it's a controlled human created black hole. And the whole thing about that was pretty superb. But as I say, the execution, not good. And to be perfectly honest, there were long scenes which could have been cut out and made the whole thing move a lot better. And Jolie Richardson was brilliant, but I think she was actually underused in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's just a shame that they didn't use her any as more than they did. But yeah, as I say, execution of the concept of the story was brilliant, but the execution was very disappointing.
And moving on, probably go to Brian next because Lee seems to be frozen.
Yes, Lee seems to be frozen very badly.
No, he's not. You're muted, though.
He's muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, he's okay.
You were sitting absolutely still, muted, Lee.
It was an internet.
I was just in awe. I was in awe of what Beef Dad said. So yes, we will go to Brian.
That's me.
God, don't we know it?
Well, with this movie Event Horizon, I honestly I love it. I love this film because this is my first time actually seeing the film. I never seen this film or even heard of this film before until now, and you guys like when you recommended it and everything. So judging it be my first time and judging be my first time watching the movie and seeing it, I love it. Probably like one of the best horror sci-fi thrillers movies that is out there that has been made. Good special effects, not that much of blood. I don't know why before I was saying with too much blood. I hardly even had any blood in it, but it kind of reminded me of like a couple of the Alien films, like maybe Alien one or two, like maybe the first two Alien films. But I really enjoyed this film. I think I enjoyed it so much I feel like I would like to own it on DVD. Like maybe when I within a local store, maybe I could see if I could find it to pick it up. So that's how much I enjoyed the film. It's a very good film. So all good.
Cool. I think you get the aliens vibe from it, from the sort of design of the interior of the spaceships, the spacesuits sort of thing. But any outer space movie these days, you're going to get that vibe now.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
me,
I was also surprised to see Sean Pertwee in it. I didn't expect him to be in the film.
well, he's on the cast list.
Well, I didn't look at the cast list before I watched the movie. I just watched the movie itself.
Yeah, Sean's in it. Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple actors that I knew within this film. I mean, there's Morpheus from the Matrix movies. I can't remember his name.
Lawrence Fishburne.
And Jason Isaac, I believe his name is, from Star Trek Discovery and the Harry Potter films. So I was actually a little bit surprised to see like those three actors that I know from different franchises and different stuff within this film. So especially Sean Pertwee, but no, it is a good film. I love it.
Well, what the main thing you've got to realise, Brian, is actors do go out there and earn a living by making movies, different movies, not only just for like one set of franchise. So you will find actors what you know in any sort of movie. But good on you that you're liking it. For me, yeah, I agree with Beef Dad. It's a good concept. The acting's brilliant. It doesn't deliver. It does just not deliver for me. As I said earlier as well, to me, and Brian's pointed out, there was not a lot of gore in this. To be honest, it could have been a lot more gorier. You don't see much. If there is a little bit of, gore, you see it for a few seconds. It's gone off the screen. It's not. It doesn't linger. But yeah, the design, the acting, brilliant. But as I say, it just doesn't. I don't know. There's something missing for me, and it left me with a lot of unanswered questions. And you're just thinking, well, yeah, nothing that hasn't been explained, and that hasn't been explained. What's going on? And then it's ended. I don't know if they were going to plan a sequel or anything, but this was 1997, and a sequel hasn't appeared as yet. So, but yeah, it's a good movie. So, but not one of my favourites. So we'll go around then for favourite moments and things what you didn't like. We'll go to Beef Dad. Caught him off guard there. Got to keep on your toes when I'm about,
The first time you see the drive and it is circling like that, and then it lines up and the center becomes basically a dimensional shift. That is pretty good. But the thing is, there's nothing original in that because it looks awfully like what's the one with the gateways?
Stargate.
Stargate, yeah, it looked like that. So that was a bit of a nick. Sean Pertwee, I think, was underused, but he's good. And as I say, definitely Jolie Richardson was underused. Yeah, she's good. Yeah, the Burning Man bit was quite good. but pretty unpleasant. There seems to be an awful lot of films around with people being set fire to. Yeah, and Kathleen Quinion playing the med tech. It, you know, that she was very good. She was very good. It was a good performance from her. Lawrence Fishburne, yeah, he was okay. He was okay. He played the captain. But to be perfectly honest, there were times when I thought to myself, well, Captain Kirk would have got a lot more done than he has. And the other person that really impressed me, that I really enjoyed, was Richard T. Jones playing Cooper when he was outside repairing the spacecraft. That was really very, very good. There were some good special effects, but as I say, there were also some bits that they could easily have cut out of the film, made it a lot shorter, and not lost anything from the story. Fair take.
Thanks for that, Beef Dad. We'll go to Stephen Price next, if he's got any favourite moments or things he didn't like.
Right, before I start, the film had troubled production history. Was edited and rushed by Paramount. The film was heavily edited by demand of the studio. And when it came out, it was a critical failure. But it began to sell well on home video and initial DVD release. And it's been like a cult following. Right, dislikes. I didn't like the end. Didn't like the end at all. They could have, and a few things they could have explained more. What I liked about the movie, favorite moments, is not really much the favorite. I did like like Beef Dad said, the guy that was trying to repair things. He was very funny. I did laugh a few times what he said. And it was a bit overlong, in my opinion.
It was only 90 minutes long.
No.
But as you say, if it's been edited down,
Yeah.
What did they cut out?
It was 130 minutes.
Wow.
It was 130 minutes, and however, it turned out that the footage had either been lost or destroyed in the years since the film has slowly built a cult following.
I wonder if this 40 minutes they cut out, and if it was put back, if they ever did put it back, found the clips.
Yeah.
That it would make a bit more sense and give more answers.
Yeah, there was yes and no. I mean, there was more gruesome scenes, but it was also more development. So I'm not quite sure who green lit it. I mean, like I said, the cast is good, the special effects are good. How it moves along and why it moves along and why there's so many bloody things and optical illusions or delusions or hallucinations, whatever it is, just was too much. And I think that
Are you talking about
the woman committing suicide, there's a lot of gross things, which I could understand maybe if, for the sense of the story, that's the way they wanted to present it. But I didn't need to see that. I didn't view that as necessary myself. But yeah, I think they you know, again, that's the other thing too that people forget. You know, is it the studio? Is it the production company? Is it the
Well, it said the 130-minute cut of the film was heavily edited by demand of the studio.
yeah? So there you
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there was more scenes, there was more gruesome scenes, there was a little bit more dialogue, and I don't know, maybe they were trying to be, you know, edgy or whatever, or fast, and they cut a lot of that out.
So, Susan, what's your favourite bits?
My favorite bit was, of course, the extravehicular activity, the EVA, where he's trying to repair the ship on the outside. I always love those. Those are why one of the staple reasons that I do watch science fiction is that I enjoy watching people on the outside of spaceships trying to do stuff in space, because you know it's so dangerous. There's so much jeopardy just opening the airlock.
That is just like running this group.
What is?
The jeopardy, the excitement, the danger.
I don't consider as exciting as an extravehicular activity.
Oh,
Space.
not excited enough, right? That's it. You're in my bad books.
Well, okay, listen. If they cut off your oxygen, Lee, or drop the temperature, ambient temperature in Hull to around 200 below 0 Kelvin, you know, you just tell me how incredibly comfortable and exciting your life becomes. And if they surround you with infinite space all around you. Hull is not that infinite. It's probably not that huge a place. Space is a huge place. Anyway, that's my opinion on extravehicular activities. And you're laughing your face off at me.
Yes.
But you just know that's the reason that you know science and science fiction are exciting, because you know there's a lot of jeopardy in the once you leave our atmosphere. There's a little jeopardy in our atmosphere. You don't jump out of a moving vehicle in our atmosphere, you know, without careful consideration. And it's even more so outside of the atmosphere with zero gravity and all that stuff. And I did like the gravity drive, like I was saying. I liked that concept, but the orgies were a mess, and I'm not sure that that really added. I mean, it didn't show that it was evil. It just showed that it was super biological incarnation. You know, there's a difference between evil and super biological. Orgies are super biological. You know, evil. I mean, unless you're coming at it from a super religious perspective, and then they should have had a build up to the super religious perspective at the beginning of the movie. In my humble opinion, that would have made those sorts of biological or super biological connections, expressions, show evil, because evil it's different from, you know, especially the flooding with blood. I mean, that was cool, but it was like Amityville Horror. It wasn't an outer space kind of evil. It was an Amityville Horror kind of evil.
Yeah.
So yeah, more.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. You know, I don't know. It felt like it was more like shock value, and the other problem is, where's the good as well? I mean, that's the other thing. There's no build up. There's no structure. Just set up. Okay, you got sergeants. You got a super drive, black hole, whatever, and then you start going into this weird, 5 horror movies in one type of nonsense, and it doesn't really make. you know, I mean, I understand it's fiction. I understand it's better than it happening in real life. But even in real life, it still doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the other thing that disturbed me, not just the orgies, but the fact that, you know, a woman sees a kid or thinks she sees a kid, and then she's running to help the kid, but she dies and breaks her bones, and then they show, you know, the agony and pain on her face. I mean, and then to dwell on it for like, you know, 90 seconds or more, it's not
Yeah,
necessary. It's not necessary.
but this is a horror movie.
Yeah, okay,
Well, right, but
You're not going to get elves and fairies in this, are you? It's a horror.
no, I don't want that. I don't want it. But what I don't understand
Well,
is,
you're watching the wrong movie then.
no, that's not what I want. But what I'm saying is, also, you know, it just felt like, okay, let's shock them. Let's shock them. Yeah, you can shock, but you can also shock with intelligence. It's like, where's the intelligence here? If you just want to show people think evil thoughts, I can watch almost any movie for that. That's nothing special. You know what I mean? You got to have a plot. You got to have a character development. You got to have a reason, not just go because, I mean, for goodness, then you might as well have space toilet and you'll have plenty of gore that way too.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Right, Brian, over to you. Let's get some intelligence into this chat.
And you're expecting that on me.
Yes, it's your turn now. Any favourite bits or things you didn't like about the movie? Or was it just that damn good you liked everything about it?
No.
Oh.
No, in fact, I hated it.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. No. I think probably one of my favorite moments within this film is probably going to have to be for when it's probably going to have to be when I think my first favorite one is probably going to have to be like when like towards the end it was like they have to go up against Sam Neill's character when he actually takes over the ship and all crazy stuff starts to happen. Like there's the pool of blood that comes dripping down and goes all over the ship, and then all other crazy stuff. Because that you never really well, other than an actual horror movie, you never really get to see that within a science fiction stuff as well. So so I found that like a little bit interesting. You got a little bit of science fiction and you got a little bit of horror mixed in it with as well. So I found that a little bit interesting within the film and within the scene itself. So my second favorite scene is probably gonna have to be for when it's probably gonna have to be for when they go over to the ship, the horizon, and they don't really find anything until they actually come across for when the what is it, the dimension thing, like the circle thing? Yeah, they when the when what for when the one character that gets pulled in like from like the portal and everything, and they try to get him back, and I thought that scene was pretty cool. So and I think that's pretty much my actually no wait, my actual favorite scene was the ending because the when they wake up from stasis and everything, it ends on a cliffhanger kind of because you don't always get to see that kind of from movies anymore. From when like leaving endings that end on cliffhangers, you don't really get to see that anymore. And you normally you kind of get that you kind of get those films mostly from like the early on within the 80s and everything, and but this is like the early 90s, and not like normally you see like within other genres of movies other than this type of movie. So this is kind of cool how it was kind of cool how I got to see that within this film, like having a teeny bit of a cliffhanger within a film like this. So I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. So
Oh, cool. So really, when I said at the beginning that you liked every bit about it, you do. So
yes, I do.
yeah, you know. Have I been round everyone? Yeah, I have. So it's my go. I just want to point out something. Don't you think the Event Horizon resembles a Klingon bird of prey? The design of it was very similar.
Yes, it
But
does.
I suppose every movie pitches off everything else. So, hey ho. But the design of it was brilliant, and the inside. But going back to what Alex said earlier about the woman chasing the kid. I mean, I can understand what was going on there because the ship had become sort of a sentient being, and it was playing on the people's memories, and that was a memory of her child who had passed away. So it was a mother reaching out for her child. She was after her to get her child back, and she fell to her death. And it was playing on the captain's memories of leaving his army buddies to die and stuff like that. Well, I can understand all that, but there is a lot of unanswerable questions, as like the blood pouring down. I just didn't understand that bit. It's all in the editing, I suppose. It's all in the editing. But as I say, it's an enjoyable movie, but not. I wouldn't say it's a classic. So, on that note, if anybody's not got anything else to say, we'll go around final says and scores. So, nothing else to say. We will go to. Oh, Susan wants to say something.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Sean Pertwee's character's name is Smith, and his father used to play John Smith.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird coincidence.
No, like I said, not everything was bad. I mean, the cast is good, special effects are good. I just think it's probably the directing and the editing, and then there's so many things going on. Now, to me, if their goal was let's make a sci-fi type of horror movie tragedy, that's fine. I'm all for that. But it's just the way that they did it, and then it seemed to kind of emphasize this suicidal, destructive, nasty, blood flowing everywhere.
Yeah.
It just,
I always say editing
yeah.
in TV and movies could either make or break it.
Oh, sure.
And if editing goes the wrong way,
yeah, I mean, and the other problem too is the fact that there's a lot of grand, and I'll put this in quotation marks. There's a lot of grand mal. You know what I mean, like a grand mal seizure or heart attack or whatever. That's okay if it was two characters, but then it seemed to be like happening 20 times. You know what I mean? It just seemed like the emphasis was kind of wrong. Now, if there's a way of showing that they didn't have to be so graphic, or there was a way of, if they had said even 1 week has passed or 500 hours have passed, and you're lonely or something, you know what I mean? Then I would have said, you know, but the way they did it, kind of like, you know, we discovered something and 30 years later we started, you know, at the beginning of the movie. That's okay, but then it seemed like it kind of just kind of went to the gross out, let's do evil factor, and you know that if you don't do it right, it either comes across as too much horror movie or too much cartoon, and it didn't seem to sort of progress. You know what I mean? I mean, if they feel bad or they're, you know, sad that they left a loved one behind or whatever, that's fine. But when you have to show the woman, you know, slitting her wrist in the tub, I don't get why you need that. You know what I mean? I just, you know.
Because well, that was Sam Neill's wife,
Right, no,
and it was his. That was the memory. That was the memory what played on his
Right.
mind every single day, and that's what the ship brought out.
No, but hold on. Yeah, but I also saw, you know, another one that was big at the time, Jacob's Ladder, and I understand the point they were trying to make, but it just, there was so many scenes in that movie too. It was just unnecessarily graphic, even though they, you know, you could figure out that that was partially his hallucinations, his nightmares. But after like the 10th example, it just gets to be too heavy.
But
Yeah, but I suppose if you take out,
the way it was cut a year earlier, that before it was actually released, was it had an NC-17 rating.
Right.
I mean, it was even super gore and super sex and super all that stuff. But I still think that they didn't establish where the morality was to begin with.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you start taking out all the suspense, the gore, this, that, the other, you can't call it a horror movie. You've got to call it something else. And if they're going down the horror movie route, they have to have that sort of thing in it. Sorry to say. Right, final say and score. Beef Dad. Let's get back to some seriousness.
As I say, a good concept, but not well executed. I think, if it was edited as much as it was, then perhaps they should have edited it a bit better, because the editing was not good.
It was rushed edited.
Yes, well, it's not good, rushing editing. So for me, it gets a 7.
Thank you for that. 7. Stephen.
Yeah, I think the storyline would have been better with if they hadn't had edited the movie so badly. I think the storyline would have understood what was happening in the movie. Perhaps that's what was edited out, so you didn't understand what the hell was going on. I enjoyed it. I'd give it an 8.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Brian, what's your final say and score?
My final say and score for this film would probably have to be... It would probably have to be a... I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Oh, right then. And we'll go to the dynamic duo on the sofa. You decide which one's Batman and which one's Robin.
Okay, Batman. You want to go first, or you want?
No, you can be Batman.
All right. Well, I'm not Batman, but I'm definitely going first. Let me say this. You know, for a movie that had a horrible sort of thing going on, but and with the extravehicular activity, I can't fault it too much. I'll give it a 7.5, and just encourage science fiction writers, don't spend your whole budget on super gory special effects, and spend your time developing characters.
Right.
Yeah, and and listen to your story, and let's see if it makes sense before you put it out there. Because otherwise, it would have made back its $60 million. But as it was, it only made about half of that back. And so those poor guys who invested in it, it's like, I mean, it was a losing prospect. Yeah. But anyway, it had a good gravity drive and a good extravehicular activity, and those have enough jeopardy for a science fiction film. You need the other to make it a horror flick. I agree. I agree, Lee. But here's Alex, Batman.
Okay, well, I'm sorry if people didn't agree with my opinion, but again, Alien was better, RoboCop was better, The Abyss was better, and that was very corny in some places. Yeah, and it's not worth the $60 million concept. I'm sorry, that's absolutely ludicrous. Again, it's, you can come up with plot lines, you can come up with gimmicks. The whole, even if it's a bad movie, even if it's a mediocre, and not this movie, but I'm saying there's bad and then there's bad good and then there's bad or good that leads somewhere. And this didn't lead anywhere per se. It was like the Alien and the Shining, and let's see how far we can go on either concept. And quite frankly, I think those concepts are too good to try to blend it together. And even if you do, even if you think that that's the idea to blend it together, the whole point of the Alien and the Shining was it didn't go too far. Now, I don't know about the sequels or the reboots or whatever the heck you want to call it. But I'm talking about the original Alien and the original Shining. Sometimes it's scarier if you hold back. And I don't want to see everything on screen either. I know that's just me. Now, if I'm watching another movie or I'm in the mood that I want to see a James Bond movie where he kills a lot of people in a way, that's a little different.
Or how about Ash versus Evil Dead?
Right, or Ash versus Evil Dead. That's gory, but it's also funny. Yes. But it also had characters that you cared about, and it had progression. And this didn't have progression except to let's scare the viewer. I mean, there's so many ways you could have done this that it would have made more sense. It would have been more involved. I mean, basically, it got to the point where I'm just turning away from the screen because I don't want to see gore. I want to see a story progression. I want to see characters that I cared about. I didn't care anything except for that poor woman that got killed. So I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm giving it a 6. Oh. That's all.
All right.
Well, that's one of Alex's longer final says. For me, it's the bad editing. I think is what's to blame for this one. To be honest, the acting you can't fault, the designs you can't fault. It's just as Stephen said, rushed editing. If you've got to rush something, that is bad to begin with. So for me, I think I'm going to go with a 7 on this. It's an enjoyable movie, but it's not up there with the classic ones. So on that note, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us, talking and having a good discussion, because we always do. That's why I like doing these. You guys out there, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Comment below, let us know what you thought about the movie. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We're all over the place. We've got groups, got a Facebook page. Please, if you want to join in and join the group and discuss whatever we want to talk about week in, week out, leave a comment, get in touch with the group, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So, on that note, as I say, it's time to bid goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu. So, bye-bye, everybody.